And for more on that, let's go down to the field. And our offensive lineman, Cole Cubelic.
Tom, it's not just going to be 5 offensive linemen today for Ole Miss. Offensive line coach Matt Luke's going to roll in Alex Givens and Greg Little at tackle. They'll do that every few series. Has nothing to do with the opponent, has nothing to do with the short week. Trying to build some depth up front on this offensive line to protect Chad Kelly throughout the course of this season. Didn't do it in the second half last week. They need that depth. They need quality offensive line play. We want to try to build on that this afternoon. And you have to think about the fact that, to me, snapping the football, just like throwing the football. So it's going to roll off your fingers just like that. It's a humid day. It's a hot day. And the fact that some of that sweat can be dripping off your helmet, getting onto the football, very difficult to keep your hand dry on days like today. One reason that ball could be slipping out a little bit early and coming back low to the quarterback. How have you prepared your team? Describe for me how you've prepared your team mentally for this game this week.
Well, no different. You know, I said, basically the intensity, the passion, the level of energy that we played with last week, we have to match that this week on the road against a really good football team that's playing their senior day with an opportunity to improve their bowl positioning.
How have you addressed with your team the reports that there are multiple schools interested in your services and you might not be the head coach at Houston next year?
Honesty. Don't believe anything that you read.
Can you confirm those reports are false?
Absolutely. Sure.
So how have you instructed your agent to handle your situation moving forward?
I'm not going to talk about any other job except the one I got right now and these kids.
Okay. As a former player, I've been in a situation with a coaching change. I know it can be challenging. How will you handle that with your kids today?
There's nothing to handle except beating Memphis.
Your focuses lie strictly with beating Memphis today?
100%.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Mason, this is as animated as I've ever seen you on the sideline. Describe how you feel right now.
Man, I'm so excited for these seniors. You know what? They did this. We did this. People said we couldn't get it done here at Vanderbilt. Well, I tell you something, you better feel the beat, because we're back in this place. We are back in the house. Yeah!
You mentioned your seniors. They came up big for you tonight, but to be able to get them to a bowl game, we don't have to talk about APR. You qualified on your own in the W column.
Yeah.
What does it mean to that group?
That's the way we wanted it. We wanted a victory. You know, at the end of the day, man, we didn't want to sneak in the back door. We wanted to kick in the door, walk through the front door. Okay, man, and let's have some fun. And these kids have earned it. They've done everything that I've asked them to. They came out here in the second half. We defended on defense. Man, we played great offense, and we did enough on special teams. And that's good enough to win.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Vanderbilt and offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig really loading things up now. We've gone past 12 personnel to 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. Seen it multiple times on this drive, trying to get more heavy bodies in the game and lean on this Florida defense, which you mentioned, Tom, has a couple D linemen banged up.
Let's see if they do. Cole, how's this offensive line play today?
I feel like they've played well. Second tackles in right now. Obviously have to protect down low. Opened up some space in the run game. I've seen Chad Kelly take 1-2 hits, but it looked to me as though they were slide protection mishaps, as in the back maybe went a little bit wide or the tackle came down a little bit too short. Tough to tell who it was truly on, but all in all, I feel like they've had a good game.
But, Cole, we saw a lot of that watching that Florida State film. It looks like one guy's guilty, and it's actually the guy next to him.
Something they really have to shore up next week. You're talking about playing against Tim Williams and Ryan Anderson, Jonathan Allen on that Alabama defensive line next week. You better get that slide protection shored up, because that's your bailout protection. That's the one when you think things are going to go bad and you know you have to get rid of the football. You rely on slide protection to go 2-3 step drop, get rid of the football quickly. Alabama's D-line is going to get there faster than anyone they've seen this season.
Well, let's ignore talent differential for just one moment. How does facing this Wofford front help or not help what they're going to see from Alabama in terms of scheme?
3-man front is how it helps. They've seen some different looks that they didn't see against Florida State. Alabama's actually thrown some 3-man front out this year, so it will not take them by surprise if they get that next week.
Cole, what do you see?
Tom, we've seen that A-gap blitz from the inside linebackers of UMass multiple times in this game. They like to pick and choose where they bring their pressure from. I thought you would see the majority of it come from the edge against the South Carolina defense, whose tackles have struggled, especially in pass protection, but trying to attack the A-gaps here early. Tom, one of my favorite players to watch on this Vanderbilt football team, former linebacker, moved him over to running back with the idea he was going to start as a fullback in the spring, maybe be some H-back as well. He gets the ball a few times, and all of a sudden Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator, thinks we need to get this guy the football a little bit more. Coach Mason wanted to get more physical on offense. Kari Blasingame, a big reason why they've been able to do it.
Hey, Cole, what are you thinking about the Vanderbilt offensive line, the way they're running the football and getting some push?
Trying to look for that push again, and Blasingame gets hit by Jared Davis but picks up 3.
One thing I'm noticing, Andre, as we mentioned, those multiple tight end sets, a few new faces in along the defensive line for Florida. Alignment has been a little bit of an issue early. Some extra communication along that defensive line for the Gators before the ball is snapped. But give this Vandy O-line some credit. Coming off, getting a hat on a hat. We talk about it all the time. Today's college football, you don't necessarily need to drive a guy 2-3 yards past the line of scrimmage. Get a hat in a hat and let Ralph Webb or Kari Blasingame do work. We're in the indoor facility here in Auburn, Alabama, slinging it a little bit with new Auburn quarterback Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good, man. How are you?
Excited to be here at Auburn?
Oh, happy to be back in the system, to say the least.
And one thing I picked up on already is you're already greeting people with War Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly did you pick up on that's how you're going to greet people while you're a student athlete here at Auburn?
I mean, I picked up on it. I had to pick up on it pretty fast. I mean, everybody, you know, wherever you go, they're always saying, hey, War Eagle. So just kind of caught on to it.
What was it about Auburn that drew you here?
And there was a lot. You know, going through a rough 7 months, just trying to find a new home. The main thing was being around good people. I mean, I was around a lot of good people before, and that was the big thing for me is, you know, this is a business decision, but wanted to surround myself with good people. So yeah, I mean, that was really it.
Now, I've watched a little bit of Chip Lindsey's offense when he was at Arizona State. He'll be your new offensive coordinator. I noticed a lot of elongated drops, 5, 7-step drops. Quarterbacks in the pocket gets to survey a little bit. Is that something you're a fan of? You think you can flourish doing that?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to, you know, obviously I've watched a lot of film and stuff on Coach Lindsey's offense and picked up on things, but, you know, there's some similarities from what he does and what I've done at Baylor. But no, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I really like, what he implements in his offense and you know, that kind of thing. So I'm excited to get down here and finally get to work.
Tom, the one highlight returning on this offensive line for me was left guard number 75, Jashawn Robertson. You watch him on film, boatload of power, has a lights-out punch in pass protection. I don't think it's any mistake that they've gone behind left guard multiple times on this drive and able to pick up big chunks on the ground.
Do you see them getting caught up in this discussion of bowl games not mattering so much?
Here's who says bowl games don't matter. People like you that write for newspapers and media nerds. The only people that I've seen come out and say these are meaningless games, and this is all derived from Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
If you want to throw Shock Linwood from Baylor in there, I think his situation's a little bit different. We could go miles and miles and miles talking about those two individuals and why it is a good or the right decision for them. The lazy response to that is these bowl games are meaningless. The hilarious part is a lot of people that you employ and pay are saying they're meaningless games, and they're going to cover the said games that you're attempting to call meaningless. They're not meaningless to me now. They weren't then. I can tell you about 1996 in Shreveport, Louisiana, seeing Vanilla Ice perform twice and going and hanging out with my teammates. I can tell you about cab rides in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl and being at Disney World on Christmas Day with my senior team that we went down to play Michigan in. I can tell you about going to clubs in Atlanta with my teammates when we were there for the Peach Bowl. I remember that like it was yesterday. Why do we completely discount life experience as having value? Everything is turned into monetary value. Not every college football player is looking for the next buck or the next dollar, and that's the only thing that matters to them. It's just not reality. The majority of these kids will never play another football game after their final game their senior year. There's going to be seniors playing every single bowl game. They're not all lining up to go play in the NFL. So this means a lot to them. It means a lot to fans. It means a lot to the employees at the stadiums, to the cities that are bringing bowl games there. To say that any bowl game is meaningless is asinine, immature, and lazy. It's just not right. Is it meaningless to Leonard Fournette to go play in his bowl game for LSU?
Maybe. Christian McCaffrey? Possibly. Just because something is meaningless to me does not deem it meaningless. Country music is meaningless to me. I don't listen to any of it. It doesn't make it meaningless. They still have a damn award show that gets big ratings every year and people buy music. It's not meaningless because it doesn't mean something to one person who is a very specialized situation for himself and his family. So I'm not mad at those two players. I know that's a little off base of where we're going with this, but this means a lot. This is the Sugar Bowl. This is a big deal. Auburn fans should be excited to hear. Whether people want to say you backed in or maybe don't deserve to be or some other team deserves to be there, who cares? Auburn's there. Oklahoma's there. It should mean a lot to those two teams because this is a historic bowl game that has had a lot of meaning over time, and it's a way to, yes, have some momentum going into next season. I don't really buy into that because there's a lot that a football player is going to go through, and a lot of things are going to be different when he shows up for spring ball and then two-a-days the next year, and you ain't thinking about the damn Sugar Bowl when you come back to practice for 2017. Bottom line is these kids get gifts, they get money, they get the opportunity to compete again, and they get to go out and say they played in a Sugar Bowl. And 10, 20, 30 years from now, it's going to have a lot of meaning.
Hey, Cole, let me ask you. Coleman Thomas moves from right tackle to center in this game. He has experience there, but what's the biggest challenge for him making that change in game?
Getting the football back, getting it depth, because if you noticed, Josh Dobbs came under center on that play. You have to get lower as a center in goal line. You're going to come off lower. The ball does not get as deep on your rear end. Josh Dobbs has to make sure he gets further underneath to accept that football.